What's up, everyone? How are we doing today? I got my bowl of rice and eggs. That's actually, I enjoy this. Some people don't really like the simplicity of rice and eggs. For me, it works. I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I like eggs and I like rice. It's not really complex. I don't normally. The other night I made steak and I had leftovers. And I used to sometimes put that with my rice in the morning, because who doesn't like steak and who doesn't like rice combined together? It's a nice meal. But it became a digestion rate issue. So like, I like to work out in the morning, and if I'm gonna eat a steak meal right before I work out, there's no way that steak is going to be digested in time, nor sit in my stomach very well, right? Because it's takes longer to break down. The digestion rate's faster. Means not faster. It's slower than eggs. Eggs are faster than steak, and so it doesn't really make me feel the most comfortable before I go work out. So I like to keep it simple in the morning. Sometimes too simple, like that's the issue. That's why I stopped eating like carbs in the morning. I slowly progressed my breakfast to less and less. I basically got to a point where it was just like bone broth, basically. Maybe a banana, and I just got lazy. And so now I'm on to eating eggs and like a cup and a half of rice before I go work out. So it's interesting. It's organizing your schedule around how you eat is important. Well, not the most important, but it can be important, especially for athletes. Like, a lot of athletes don't realize how important nutrient timing is. I think in the grand scheme of things, like most people, nutrient timing isn't too like critical. If you think about like the average person who's just working out, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a week, nutrient timing, plays a role. Not the most insane role, by the way. Coffee, whole milk, and a little bit of salt. Yeah, I got that from Drake Bear from Strength to Speed, my guy. A little bit of salt in your coffee. I don't know, I love it. Excellent, really good. But back on track. That nutrient timing aspect for athletes is really important. They do a lot of workouts in a day. And one of the reasons with nutrient timing why it's important is because if they don't eat in the window they have to eat, they're not gonna eat enough. More times than not. Like, a lot of these athletes I've worked with work out 5, 6 times a day. Now, I think in our mind, we think working out means lifting weights. Well, they might lift in the morning, they might do some active recovery, they might do some physical training on the court, like shooting and stuff like that. And they also might lift multiple times. So it's not just like lifting weights, it's working out. And that takes a lot of time. It takes time to get there, time to come back from, shower, do whatever things you need to do in your life. And at the end of the day, you're working so much, you almost don't have time to eat. And so that's a thing that comes up. It's like, look, nutrient timing is really important because it also forces you to actually eat your nutrients. On top of that, you want to have good workouts. You don't want to be fatigued. If you're going to work out 4 times in a day, 5 times in a day, and you're only like kind of fully fueled for your first 2 workouts, that really leaves a lot on the table physically for your last 3. So, interesting concept why nutrient timing is important for some and maybe not as important for others, especially if the others are getting their full macros and adequate calories they need. You're not training as often as an athlete, sure, maybe it's not as important. I find that for athletes, that nutrient timing is important though, especially building those habits, because if you get behind the ball a little bit and you start to fatigue, it starts to add up over time. So, interesting kind of concept to think about there. On a random note, I watched this cool video the other day. It was about Bayesian modeling. So talk about your brain and the way your brain works according to some research, and the theorized at least way it might work is it's a predictor model. So it has past experiences, and from those past experiences, you can almost think about it like those are file cabinets. And every event, here's an example. Think about your brain as like a big office building. And there's a central manager there, and your body's a big office building. Your brain is a central manager within that office building. And that brain has a file cabinet of all the resources and past experiences it has. And so he gets a call, the brain does, and says, hey, we got a situation coming up. And the brain goes, is this a familiar situation or not a familiar situation? If it's a familiar situation, like a daily routine you do, like making eggs, you know how to do that really well. It pulls up the blueprints and says, oh, let's make eggs. We've done this multiple times. We failed a couple times, burnt my finger a couple times, but we'll do it this way because that's the best way to do it. So it has a plan that's already very effective for the environment that it's in. But let's say it has to do something totally new. I don't know, you're making a filet. You never made a filet before. And you go, okay, well, I gotta make a filet. I don't know how to make it, but I can pull up on all these past experiences that are kind of like making a filet. Those are called priors. And so your brain has these prior events that have taken place. And someone with a more robust prior file cabinet with lots of things similar to a filet will probably have a better chance at making a filet. And so what's happening here is your brain uses its resources, your body, its knowledge, its past experiences to predict an outcome. And the more accurate the prediction of the outcome is, the better the outcome will be. Because you don't have mistakes and obstacles. And this goes back to the free energy principle of Carl Friston, which is basically like, look, the body's trying to operate, the brain specifically is trying to operate an environment to minimize what's called surprises. And if it has a surprise, something it's not prepared for, that's disadvantageous for survival. If you all of a sudden are surprised by rain and lightning, and you have no past experience by it, it lowers your likelihood of success trying to accomplish something. If you've never been taught how to do a hang clean or a snatch and you have to try and randomly do it, your level of success is far lower than if you have seen it before, experienced it before, at least watched it, maybe tried it yourself and been taught it. And so what's interesting is these prior events dictate your prediction model. So you do have all these prior experiences, and what influences you a little bit maybe has a role in how you predict outcomes. And there's also a huge debate because body and brain multifactorial. There's biases, influences, weights. You might weight an opinion of someone more than someone else, and that affects how you predict an outcome. But the reason why I get to all this and why I'm kind of talking about it, because it reminded me of eating carbs. When I started posting about eating carbs and eating a little bit more, everyone's telling, not everyone. I've had some people reach out and say, oh, you might get insulin resistance, you can get diabetes, why you shouldn't be eating carbs and you should only be eating low fat. And I think about it, a lot of social media only promotes like protein or only protein or keto or things of that nature. And they're not talking about the evidence or support of higher carb in specific situations like that of an athlete. And I found it interesting because those priors, the person that's operating to make a prediction of what will happen to my outcome, are influenced by what they consume and digest, full pun intended, on social media. And so what they see, what they hear, what they experience, and then not being influenced by what they read. On the other hand, I am a kind of nerd. I like to read about research and things like that. So I was influenced by the research and influenced by other metrics. And so our priors are very different. So our prediction models of our outcomes are very different. And so now I can maybe understand why someone else has a very differing opinion, because maybe their prediction model has more information or different information or less information than mine. So kind of interesting, kind of cool. Just a random thought of the day. So I'll keep you guys posted on how I go. I feel pretty good so far, by the way. I'm excited to get this workout in here. I'm gonna be working out down in the basement today because we got some stuff being delivered. So the other day I actually was able to get some work in over at what's called TBK, it's the bigger complex here. It's upper body day. I kind of like to do it there because they have machines and stuff that I don't have, and I sometimes get really lazy in upper body day, and you know who isn't kind of a meathead a little bit, like some isolation machines? Who doesn't love a pec deck, right? A chest fly machine, that's awesome. But because I don't have that, I'll go down in the basement today and mess around with some stuff. I'll probably end up doing the tricep madness thing, which if you guys saw some of my previous videos, you had questions about it. I basically try to do as few sets as possible to get to 100 reps on a tricep floor press. Why do I do those kind of things? Because they're fun, they're exciting. I like those kind of challenges. They don't deviate too far off your program because my goal is to train upper body today. And so can I put in an upper body challenge that's fun? And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm trying to put in an upper body challenge that's fun, that's competitive, and makes me work a little bit harder, but doesn't deviate too far from the program. I can talk about that another day, about variation without variation and all that fun stuff. The point is, if I'm doing it here, the nice thing is I have my carbs up here. Easy access to carbs, so I can just come up here, drink some juice before I go work out, whatever. I'm rambling. I'll let you all be. Have a good one. Take care. Appreciate you. As always, thanks for listening.